Rosalyn Masterson is back in her chair today to tell us all about Chapter 8 in her book called The Storm is Over. Rosalyn names this chapter Blue Denim Overalls Floating Amongst Soothing Billows of Cotton. Rosalyn, thanks for being here with us today.
Well, thanks again, Sheila. It's a privilege to be here.
Rosalyn, the cover of your book has a picture of blue denim overalls floating in the clouds. What do the blue denim overalls represent?
The blue denim overalls represents my big daddy, my grandfather.
Rosalyn, a horrific event happened on Labor Day weekend in 1996 where you nearly lost your own life. I'd like to start off with asking you questions that led up to this event. On Friday, the start of Labor Day weekend, you went over to your friend Lucinda's house to get crack cocaine. While you were there, she asks for help in cleaning her kitchen stove because she was moving out of her home. Later on that evening, when you were done helping her clean, you went to your wallet to pay for drugs and you found out that your money was gone. Knowing for a fact that you had money in your wallet when you brought it to Lucinda's home, the only culprit could have been her or someone else who had been in her home during the time you were there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's accurate.
You became very angry because no one would own up to stealing your money. Lucinda and her son-in-law drove you home. Lucinda ends up passing out in the car on the way, and you see her purse sitting on the console. What happens next?
Well, I see the purse, so I go in the purse, and inside the purse I see food stamps, a blank check, and $20. And so I take it.
The next day, Lucinda calls you up and asks to borrow Chore Boy, a filter used for a crack cocaine pipe. When she was over at your home, you found out later that she had slipped something into your beer. What was her motive for this?
I believe the motive for her doing that was to harm me, because whatever her idea was, and whatever she put in that beer, from the time I went to go get what she come to ask for, and I get back downstairs, it didn't taste right. Something was terribly wrong with that beer. So I just went to the sink and I poured the darn thing out, and I guess they suspected that I knew something, and then they left my house.
A day later on Sunday, Lucinda calls you up and asks if you can come over to her house and help her pack. Her friend Clyde comes over to your house to pick you up late at night and take you over there. He drops you off and leaves. Then you and Lucinda smoke some crack cocaine before you start packing, and then all of a sudden a woman named Bonnie shows up at Lucinda's. What happened when Bonnie came over?
Well, what had happened when Bonnie came over, as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this deal here, that was early in the daytime, so this was like early afternoon, and Clyde didn't get to my house till pretty close to midnight, 11 or 11:30, and so we get in there, and then me and Lucinda start smoking it, and here come Bonnie, which is her so-called best friend, and I don't know where she come from, because she was also with Lucinda, who came to my house and got the chore boy. It was those two. And then she just, they just started arguing. And next thing I know, she pretended to leave the apartment. Now, where she went, I don't know. But they just picked a fight amongst each other. And whatever it was for, I have no idea. But I knew something was just kind of fishy about that whole deal.
After Bonnie leaves, Lucinda comes into the kitchen where you were at and says she wanted to go and get some breakfast before you and her start packing. You go with this idea. Now you and Lucinda and an older man who is also at Lucinda's helping her pack are supposedly heading for breakfast, but plans change. Now Lucinda wants to go to Central City to gamble, and she tells you she wants to also pick up a man she knows that you might like. At this time, did you feel uneasy that something might not be right when you were in that car?
At the beginning, I was going along with it, but it seems like every so many blocks, the things would change. And then, so the final deal was going over to get this guy. So she then went from the breakfast to the darn Central City and now to this guy, and then, that was that. And then I knew something because the guy that was in the back seat, the old man, supposedly was her cousin. And the first time I seen that guy, he was there on Friday. He was there on Friday. And he was sitting in that house when Bonnie and her started fussing. But it was me, Lucinda, and the old man that got in the car. So I kind of was suspicious. And not to mention, she had this quart of whiskey and she doesn't even drink. And then they was trying to get me to have a drink and I kind of like refused because, like I said, so I guess that today, in my mindset, I would say it was a red flag, but something was not right with that picture.
So then the next thing you know, Lucinda stops the car and says she has to use the bathroom. You notice that she reaches for something on the side of the console. Rosalyn, will you please tell us from this point on what you remember?
She stops the darn car. First she reaches over and, she reaches to get something from the side, like between the seat and the divider. And then she reaches over and she unlocks the door, and then next thing I know, she's coming around to the side where I was sitting in the front seat. The old man is sitting behind me. And then she just opens the door, and this is when she just started talking about, bitch, this is the day that you die. And as I'm getting, turning to get out the darn car, she's shooting, and she started it with my face, and the first bullet just ricocheted out, and I'm backing back. I'm out of the car by now, and I'm asking the old man, I'm thinking the old man is coming to help me, but he gets out too, and then all of a sudden this mother, God help me. This old man just starts with this dart plucking and poking at me. And he continued to poke at me and she was shooting at me. So it was like 2 against 1. These two people. And all of a sudden, all I know, if I could go straight, she could run me over and I couldn't go up the darn hill, so I decided to run down this steep ravine, and they are following me, and next thing I know, I was at the bottom of this fence like a chicken coop, chicken wire, and all I know is that this woman was standing over me with this damn gun that was backfiring. This old ass man was plucking me as if I was a darn chicken, and it was all in my head, all on my neck, in my back. No matter where I turned and whatever I was doing to defend myself, there he were. There he were. And then when I just finally just stopped, because I don't know what happened, but just something said, play dead. And I just stopped. And I held my breath, and they waited for a minute. And next thing you know, they thought they had me. And then they left. And I just laid there as still as I could. And next thing I know, it was just like pitch dark. This is like in the wee hours of the morning by now. But these people, this girl, this man was trying to end my life. That's what happened that wee morning, early morning on Labor Day of 96. And I'm bleeding. I'm just bleeding and I don't know, and I'm just scared and I'm just shaking and I'm just, super cold, and I don't know what was happening with me.
So then in your book it says that a movie clip played right in front of your face and you saw your life and what had happened in your past, and you saw that none of it was good, which led you to have absolutely no hope in even wanting to stay alive. And then all of a sudden you see something in the clouds. Rosalyn, tell us what you see, tell us what you hear.
I seen my big daddy. I seen these coveralls. I seen this big old man just stretch across, and he's just looking down on me, and he's telling me, baby girl, get up. But it was just the love and the comfort of my grandfather embracing me and telling me, encouraging me to get up, because that screen was nothing nice or wasn't anything good about it. All of my life, just deal with this addiction. You know, I struggled with this darn thing for years and years and years, and now it was like the end. This was the end. These people trying to kill me. Over what? Trying to kill me over what? And so next thing you know, because prior to that movie, that screen, I tried to get up that hill, but I kept sliding down. And I tried to get up that hill, and it was just this dry, I don't know, bristle and like grass, or grass weeds like all dead. And so the third time I just turned, and I cannot remember if it was left or right, but I see this pole, this metal pole, and I grab hold of this pole. And when I grabbed this darn pole, this was after my grandfather. I seen this pole, and I used that pole to get to the top of that hill, to get to the top of the hill. And when I finally got to that top of that hill, it was 96. They had these little, I don't know, just this was out in the far away in the suburbs, but if they had like this green box, and I guess it's a utility box, but I was able to put my arm around this box to keep me from sliding back down that hill. And so that's what that was. And next thing I know, waving this, you know, people call it a stick, I call it the pole, and the guy stops, and he thought I was a wounded deer on the side of the road. That's why he pulled over his car. And I don't know, but God just works in mysterious ways, because this man worked for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. And on his way to work on Labor Day, on a Monday morning, and then to stop and to see the stick, thinking it was a deer, you know. And next thing you know, he summons this lady. Here come this truck. And how in the world does a civilian and a darn nurse connect in the wee hours of the morning? But she stopped. And then she was a paramedic. She was a nurse of some sort. But I asked that lady if I was going to die. And she said no. And she got on that darn walkie-talkie or whatever it was she had in her hand, that pager deal. And she summons for help. And then I was scooped up off the side of the road, and I was taken to St. Anthony Central Hospital.
Rosalyn, when you were taken to the hospital, you were able to tell the cops what happened almost immediately, even after all of that you had gone through. And by noon on Monday, Labor Day, the cops were able to arrest the 4 people that were involved in your attempted murder: Lucinda, Bonnie, the old man, and Clyde.
Correct.
Tell us what happened to these people.
Well, what happened to these people, I guess they thought they had succeeded in what they were doing, and then they just go back to Lucinda's house and party, and then they get a call, you know, a knock on the door, because when the detectives came to the hospital and they saw me, and immediately they asked me all types of questions, and they were even surprised that I can just answer them so clearly, especially after the traumatic deal I had just went through. But I explained everything. I described the car. I described what the people had on, everything. And I gave them the address, and right today, I know where this place is. I know where this place is. And so they went and they arrested him. You know, they went and they arrested him, and my part in them, you know, I told them where the evidence was, what I was accused of taking, which was nowhere near where she said I had taken. And so he went to my apartment and he got the stuff. So they was already building the case against this woman.
Did these people serve time?
Well, all of them served time. And she had the most time, and she would have got more time, but they could not find the gun. And the old guy had just got out of prison, but he went back to prison, you know. And as far as, because I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, Clyde, you know, he got the less time because he was like an accessory. He was more like the taxi driver. But her and that girl and then that old man, yes, they all got time. They all got time.
So, you survived 5 gunshots and numerous stabbings. Another miracle, in my own opinion, is you didn't stay very long in the hospital after all this. How long did you stay in the hospital?
Well, it happened on the 3rd of September. Coco's birthday is on the 10th of September. So I got out like the day before or the day of his birthday. So like 7 days. 7 days.
And so you get home and obviously fall back into a very deep depression. What happened during this depression?
I don't know why y'all call that depression. It's just that I just was full of shame and guilt and honestly just fear, you know. And then I was bored. I didn't know what else to do. I did not know what to do. And so I was just feeling sorry for myself and also just being just afraid because I could not believe how I succumbed through such an ordeal. What had just happened with me. And with everything just transpiring the way that it all was unfolding, you know, that summer of 96 or the fall of 96, I just couldn't believe it. And I just looked at myself as a darn loser and, you know, nothing, just nothing. And so it's just so weird and strange to just be sober, you know, no beer, no drugs, just sober, you know.
Rosalyn, you were almost murdered over food stamps, a $20 bill, and a blank check.
Yeah.
What does that sound like to you?
Insanity. It sounds like insanity, you know, and it just seems like the people, but the sort of places and where I allowed the drugs to take me and just that life, you know, because honestly, I was told it was $5,000 and a whole bunch of dope, and it was nothing. It was just like the food stamps, the blank check, and the $20 bill. And the detective came to my house and got just that. But yes, it was the people that I was with, you know, just wicked, evil people, drug addicts like myself. You know, tweakers don't have that kind of money and drugs. Tweakers don't have that.
You survived this horrific, traumatic event, and you still ended up returning to addiction. What finally gave you the willingness to want to get sober?
Oh, goodness. Oh, man. So many years, for so long I have just, I guess, just ignored the warning signs and the love, and I could not believe that God loved me. But this last ordeal with the people that he had put in place to help me, that he had summoned with the help of my grandfather, I just, you know, was just surrounded with love and people, with encouragement, and people saw a side of Rosalyn, and even I was able to see it once I had got clean that if I done it once, I could do it again. But it was just a positive, from the courthouse to the hospital to the therapist. They had me doing this therapy, and even the attorney. Everybody saw this good. And then it was just like the gig was up, it was just time to surrender. It was just time. And so, it was just tired. I was just running. I was just tired. And then I know if I could do it once, I could do it again. And all I wanted to do was be sober for my kids. That's all I wanted to do was be sober for my family. I couldn't be sober for my family. So it was just God putting these people in my life, showing me that I can. So I call them my cheerleaders, my earthling cheerleaders.
And Rosalyn, after the attack, obviously the pain didn't stop there. And soon after, your son Coco ends up, according to the authorities, committing suicide. Does he take a big part of finally giving you that willingness after his death to get sober?
Does he take a big part? I believe it. Yes, he played a huge part in that, because I still had Joss and I still had Peaches, and I just, even after his death, and although I was not the one to pull the trigger, but with the shame and embarrassment and just me being the mother that could not, at 4 years old, this boy is telling me, Mama, to pray instead of get drunk. At 16, he's telling me to smoke pot instead of crack. And then at 18, he's crying and asking me what I'm doing, and then he's dead. And I just did not have an idea. I didn't even know that I was as sick as I was with this addiction, that booze and them drugs, so he was very, I don't like to boast and say instrumental, but yes, he played a huge part. And today, I am still a living amends. And he's been dead for 23, 25 years, but I'm still doing what I'm doing. I couldn't do it when he was here, but I'm doing it now because I owe him that much. And he's one of my cheerleaders. He looks down on me too.
Rosalyn, you have scars that remind you of your attack, scars that remind you of your son, and all of your poor life choices. But also tell us what else these scars remind you of.
These scars remind me of a loving God that loves me unconditionally and only wants the best for me. And unfortunately, I used to say this deal about, my past being my power, and I had to look like this in order to get the attention of God, in order for God to get my attention, because I should have been dead. With every little stunt and trick I tried, I should have been dead. But when I look at this now, I can take my experience and help others, especially women. So my scars, there's a story behind each one, and it's not a beautiful story, but I am a survivor because I'm still here today.
Rosalyn, do you think Coco would be proud of you now?
Oh, wow. Well, yes, I could just see them dimples now and just smiling at me now. Well, yes, he would be proud. It's just like he probably would say, "Golly, she finally gets it. She finally gets it." But yes, because I still have his sister. So yes, that I was taking care of her till she's an adult now. But yes, I did right. So in a sense, I believe I did right by Coco and by Peaches. So yes, he would be very proud of his mother if he was here.
Rosalyn, thank you. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming here and reliving this event to share it with the world, with us here right now. I understand how hard that must be. And again, we thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Well, thank you. Thank you.